special one. I knew it right from the start.
This is Weekend Calling with Claire Kerr on NLive Radio in association with the Retro Charts. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome my guest to the show as part of my Legends interviews. And what a legend he is. It is Mr. Marty Wilde, MBE. Marty, welcome to my show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. It's lovely.
It's absolute pleasure. Now, I want to start, if I may, with your childhood. And you were really influenced by your father for your love of music, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was. Very much so. He most of the time, he would always be singing around the house and harmonising. Every time a record came on, he was, not the records, rather, the radio. It was a radio in those days. He would harmonise and I would listen, and I learnt to harmonise at a very young age. When I was 5 or 6, I could start harmonising, just listening to what he was doing. And I think also there must have been some kind of a natural thing for me to do that, because it wasn't all it had to be a lot of me, my own instinct for music, which has always been there. Very strong instinct for music I've always had.
Yeah, because you always knew from a very young age that you wanted to be this pop idol, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was, I guess when I was about 14, I decided that was it. I wanted to be a pop star. It's quite a young age, but
yeah,
well, I felt.
And didn't your grandmother predict your future as well with her fortune-telling gifts?
Yeah, she told my father that I would travel the world, and I was going to be. I would be the first one in the family, the first entertainer or a singer or whatever I was going to be. But the most important thing was, she said that whatever he needs as he grows up, you've got to get it there for him. And I wanted a ukulele, which was in a second-hand shop, a pawn shop, as they call it. And my father was on strike. And I thought, well, I'll never get that. I'll never get a ukulele. And I was about 11 at the time, but magically it came.
Yay!
It was, I think his mother's words were ringing in his ears, I think, So,
yeah. Wow, how lovely. And that's a really good instrument to start with, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, she was very accurate with her fortune telling as well. She told fortunes for friends and people like that, and some people she wouldn't tell their fortunes. It's a shame I never, I didn't unfortunately ever get the chance to meet my man.
Yeah.
I'd love.
Yeah, but I'm sure she's been looking down and seeing this incredible career that you've had. So you started out then in sort of a skiffle group, and then you decided you wanted to change to more rock and roll, and you went from having your hound dogs to your wild cats as your band. Sort of tell me about those ideas.
Well, I mean, with ukulele, the chords are very similar to guitar's chords, the C's and the G's and the D's. Are relatively similar, and so moving on from the ukulele, each ukulele to a guitar wasn't difficult. And by the time I took it up, I was ahead of the game, because suddenly guitar music came in. I could play already, and so I formed a group with amateurs, or just all my local buddies, really. And we used to do local gigs. We had a tea-chest bass in those days, which was just a tea chest with a piece of string to it. And which is just thump as loud as you could. And I played guitar, and one of the other guys played acoustic. But we used to do shows, and we were going down really well. But we were doing all mostly Lonnie Donegan type material, skiffle type. And then I went to see Blackboard Jungle, which was a great film, and that was the first time that I'd ever heard rock and roll properly, because Bill Haley was the opening credits of the film, it started off with rock and roll, incredible vibe for a young person who'd never heard that kind of sound before. And all of us. And I said, I watched the film and I knew it. I knew immediately. 4 bells came down. I'd won the jackpot. And I said, the next day I rang. I didn't ring. I met the band. And I said, Skiffle is out. I said, from now on in. And in fact, we'd been entered as in a skiffle group, a skiffle competition. And so we turned up, of course. I said to the band, I'm not doing any more skiffle. And we did Rip It Up, I think, a couple of Little Richard songs. And we got kicked out.
And you went on later to be sort of discovered and produced, and you got your first contract signing by just Larry popping round, knocking on your mum's door when you're out at a youth club. That doesn't happen, does it?
It would be like Simon Cowell on someone's door in, I don't know, in Cheam or in Hounslow or Middlesex or whatever, wherever you are, and just saying, hello, I'm Simon Cowell, I want to...
Incredible.
So he was the biggest manager and most powerful man. So, I knew then that I was going to stand a chance of being a star. I stood a chance, but I still needed a hit record. With the first few songs that I recorded, and it wasn't until I got Endless Strip that was my first chart success.
I was watching the episode where you appeared on This Is Your Life, and I discovered there that you bought your parents, you promised them when you became a star you'd buy them their dream home.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd have given them, anything. I'd have given my parents the world, But yeah, it was just a nice thing to do. My mother and father lived there. Eastbrook Road was.
Oh,
so,
what a lovely thing! An absolute lovely thing. And one of your big hits in 1959 was Donna. Now, I'm going to play that because my mum is called Donna and she's a great fan of yours, so she'll be super excited. She was so excited when she learned that I'll be talking to you this evening. So I'm going to play that now. Donna! And now I want to talk about love. You've been married to Joyce now for over 60 years, haven't you?
But like all these things, if you're happy, time goes by so quickly these days.
It does. It really does. Do you remember when you first met her?
I do. It was in East London, and we were rehearsing for the Oh Boy show, and it was Hackney, actually, a Hackney way, and in Hackney in London, and she was. I'd seen the other girls. I worked with the other girls for around about, I suppose, a month or maybe longer, doing shows. She was a new girl that had come in, and she was sitting on a tiny bench. She had little jeans on, and she looked lovely.
Oh,
so that was
love at first sight.
Yeah,
and you're the ultimate showbiz family, aren't you? You're almost like, I'd say, like the Von Trapp family in the pop industry, and it must be such a blessing to be able to work with your wonderful family.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's I mean, music is such a gift for anybody, whether if they're good at it or bad at it or whatever. Just the love of music is important, and the very fact that my family all love music, and most of them are playing a big part in music. That is a gift to me, from them to me.
It's in the genes, obviously, isn't it? It's that wild gene sort of musical family thing going on.
Yeah, very much. We've got one of four. One of my grandchildren of four. And I've already got earmarked for him to have piano lessons.
Great.
And we've got that. Not yet, because he's a bit too young. His fingers won't. but it's already earmarked that he's gonna play.
Well, you'll get him in the band and on tour in a few years' time, won't you?
I may not be around to see it, but I think that there's going to be a lot of music come out of my family as the years go on. Really.
Yeah.
Really.
And your new album's really a celebration of your family, isn't it? And sort of the sentiment behind that, and the title track as well, Running Together. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I went once Sunday morning. I was up. They asked me would I start off a charity run in Welwyn Garden City, and on that Sunday morning, I was watching the runners as they took off. I just watched these two running, and I thought, running together. And I thought, well, that's really rather like life in a way, because whether you're married or whether you're whatever you are, whatever you're with one, it is like not working together, but literally they are running together. Their lives run together, and I thought, well, also, if you've got a team you support, I wanted the song to be like you've been with them for so long that you followed them all that time, and I wanted to put it in words as best as I could. And I all together fits that description, people that support their team, or that support their wife, or their husband, or whatever, whoever you support. It is running together. It's not a one-sided thing. It's more than one side. It's two-sided.
Yeah, absolutely. And the song, it's a great song. And it starts off all slow, doesn't it? And it's almost like a bit of a tearjerker. It kind of makes you feel a bit like that. And then this beat kicks in, and it becomes this sort of 50s, 60s style then, with the shoo bop da wop. It's really catchy.
The intro is really like me reflecting on that time has moved on.
Yeah.
In the song, I'm reflecting on my family, on my life, and that's the way I initially wanted it to come across like that. But of course, people sort of get different. I know what surprised me was people found it inspirational, which is lovely, because parts of the song, I guess I never thought about it that way, but parts of the song are inspirational, because they're there. In the song, it was based on before Kim ever made it, we were struggling to try and find a way of coming up with something to do with music, and eventually Ricky got the melody for Kids in America.
What a hit that was!
And I got the lyric line, title, and everything, and so off we went. But before that was a struggle, and life is a struggle for many people. Yeah,
particularly now as well, with all the things that we're going through with the virus and lockdown and everything.
Yeah, and I think the song kind of says to people, we're going to get through this.
Yeah,
we can. It is possible, and that's so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that people see it that way.
Absolutely. It's working, really well in the now. And I love the video as well. You weren't going to be defeated, were you? You got that video. What a great idea to do it remotely like that.
Yeah, it was a weird thing to do, because we, musicians and everybody, and Kim and Roxanne and Ricky and everybody had to do it separately. It was through an iPhone.
Yeah.
They had a whole thing together, which they did, not me, but other people did. That was an art form in itself, I think, to get us all together. But it worked. It's very joyful. It was a joyful thing.
And you've been working then for the last couple of years on the album, Running Together. And what are kind of the highlights of the album, or what would you say the whole album is encompassing?
Well, it kind of is. It's very eclectic. It's bits and pieces of inspirations that I've had over the years, because I've always loved music, classical music, all sorts of music, So in the album, there is this constant change. There's reggae 1 minute, and then there's another song, a folk song, and then that's the way my life has been musically. All different styles. Excuse me. Black cough. It's not going to frighten me to death.
And the album will be out soon, won't it?
It comes out in October. Yeah,
Great.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so not long now to wait. And I bet you're desperate to go out on tour, aren't you? It's a shame that you can't tour it at the moment.
Yeah, well, all my work has been moved to next year, to 2021. So I'm just hoping that, they can find a way of working out how to get people in the theatre. Yeah. I mean, they have to come up with a virus, something to defeat this virus. We can't do it on our own. So no. I know they're working at it, and I'm sure they will. And once that comes out, then people will stand a chance of getting back to some kind of normality again. We need normality. There's too much devastation and negativity going around at the moment. And I understand that, but they've got to come up with something, and they've got to come up with it soon. But I think they will. I think around about within a year, I think they'll come up with something, which it'll be like having a flu jab. I think it will. We're
just learning to live with that then, aren't we, I suppose? But it's had a massive impact upon the entertainment industry, probably more than anywhere else. And people need their entertainment for their well-being, for their joy, don't they?
Yes, and I think it's wiring in a way, because I think people need, whatever happens, they need stimulation, they need an upper, they need something that cheers them up, makes them happy. Yeah. And things like music, the sport, the football, the cricket, and things like that, people need to get to gyms and do their sports again. They need that. They need, because we, as human beings, we feed off, being entertained and doing things like that in a shooting way. And
it brings a joy, doesn't it? And also for the artists as well. It's that creative pursuit. You've got to kind of get your message out there, get your writing out there, performing. I hear you're writing a book though in this lockdown to keep yourself busy.
I had to go in hospital just as COVID started. I had to go in hospital, and while I was there, I couldn't do anything else but sit there, and I thought, well, this is no good. So I started to write, and I emailed it to my wife and to my family, and then the next day they said, well, when's the next email coming? And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you can't stop now. So I started writing every day, and I wrote all the things that I saw with my sense of humour, and I wrote with honesty and passion, and it was an insight for me, because all the book was about the care workers. When I was there watching them, they were looking after me, and they were looking after people in the ward, because normally there was a strange thing. And normally, for my life has been like people in my industry, that most people private ward, but now I couldn't do that. There was no private ward. I was in a ward with 4 or 5 other guys, and it was absolutely wonderful. And also, I didn't go in my name. I didn't go under my name. They didn't really know who I was, because they're too young anyway.
Did you go back to Reg? Yeah.
On the wall behind me.
Yeah.
It was weird, because they would be saying, "Morning, Reg, are you feeling any better?" and all this sort of thing. But I was very happy that way. I didn't want any treatment. I wanted it to be natural, and it was a chance for me to observe them. And as I say, the workers, I always thought that people, when they get to a certain age, maybe nobody really bothers, nobody really cares. Why worry too much about spending time with them in the hospital or medicines or whatever? But that's quite the reverse. One lovely day, I watched a physiotherapist and a nurse come to this man who was lying in a bed opposite, and he was an elderly gent, and he wasn't really very he wasn't stable at all. He was a bit unstable, and so they spent They spent 15 minutes trying to get him just to stand, not to do anything else, just to stand. And I was so impressed. 15 minutes trying to get somebody up is a long time, and they didn't moan, or they just stayed with it. And eventually, in 15 minutes, they got this man on his feet, and it was wonderful to watch. And I thought, well, they really do care. They care for all ages, all colours, all people, everything. And they were. I mean, they were. Don't anyone ever tell me that about immigrants again, because my goodness me, our hospital in Leicester was just full of every nationality you can imagine. And they were wonderful, absolutely fantastic.
They're the heroes, true heroes.
They were funny. Some of the things they tell me. It was a lot of elderly people in, but the 5 guys board, and they used to confide in me. They give me, they say, "Oh, my son, he's 7 years of age, and he's this. I'm worried about him," and I realised they must have looked upon me as a priest, I think.
Well, I'm glad that you're well. You're looking absolutely fantastic. 81? Seriously? I mean, it's this superstardom's obviously keeping you youthful, isn't it?
Well, I've been lucky. I mean, I think once, if you haven't got a mortgage,
don't say that to me.
Get rid of the mortgage, you'll find the years will drop.
That is indeed a top tip, isn't it? And are all your family well? Are the kids good? And and Joyce well? And
we're also, we're surviving. I mean, it's just worrying for all families, because especially when you've got a large family like we have, you worry, and I just hope, fingers, everything stays okay for them, because it is a real tough time. There's no question about that. But we're going to get through it.
Absolutely, you're going to get through it because you're running together. And do you know what, Marty, thank you so much for chatting to me today. It's been an absolute privilege, it really has, and a pleasure, and I wish you every success with running together, with the album, with the tours when things open up again next year or whenever that may be, and I wish you so much happiness to you and all the family as well. Thank you so much.
I'll kiss to your mum, and I hope
she'll go weak at the knees. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You take care. Bye-bye for now.
Though sometimes you were far away,